Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Notify Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License Lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we're getting ready for tomorrow. It all begins, March Madness, the NCAA tournament, the NCAA tournament. But the first four began last night, and the big question going into the tournament was North Carolina deserving? As you know, a lot of people thought West Virginia or Indiana should have gotten in, and ironically, we'll get to it. But West Virginia's coach is now at Indiana, but we'll get to that. But they were thinking should West Virginia, should have Indiana got in, but watching Selection Sunday, we saw North Carolina get into the tournament, and they played really well last night, winning 95-68. R.J. Davis was outstanding with 26 points, and he couldn't miss from three. He was 28 points, but he couldn't 26 or 28 points, and he couldn't miss from three. He was outstanding last night. But the big question is, and I kind of know where you're going here, Justin. Did UNC prove last night that they should be in the tournament? Justin, I'm going to let you go first because I know you were very passionately last week against UNC making the tournament.
Yeah, and I still am. One game at San Diego State does not change my mind. I saw this team play 25 games or so.
25. Wow. So you watched 90% of their games.
Pretty much, yeah. I watch a lot of college basketball.
I know. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, so
I'm aware of that, but
I watched a good amount of North Carolina. And you go back to Friday night. Their season's on the line. They get pushed around and they're down 25 in the second half. Yes, they made a comeback, but they probably could have won that game. But 25 games, the games I've watched, it's not a tournament team. Yeah, last night they out athlete San Diego State. San Diego State had a tough time trying to find any open shots. Credit to North Carolina. Again, we see this every year. The team that's not deserving, they always make a run. Besides last year, Virginia. Then that. Other than that, usually they do. So they can go on the Final Four, and you can ask me that week if they should still be deserving. I'm still going to say no.
Wow. You'll say no if they make it to the Final Four? You're going to say no if they make it to the Final Four?
Yeah, because they weren't throughout the season.
So do you think VCU was not deserving in 2011? Do you think VCU shouldn't have been there in 2011?
No, VCU I thought was a good enough team.
Yeah, but even like San Diego State this year. Do you think you're telling me that North Carolina isn't a tournament team, but San Diego State is?
No, well, I think San Diego State's a very young team. North Carolina should have more better athletes than San Diego State. They should, and they did.
Exactly.
They just out-athlete them. Congrats to North Carolina. Hubert Davis didn't have to do much. I thought maybe San Diego State make a run in the second half because Brian Dutch is a pretty good coach. He can make some adjustments, but it was just way too much of a lopsided effort. So, no, and, congrats to Boo Cunningham, getting now his little bonus that he's going to get now for winning a run in the tournament. So congrats to him. You saw that bonus that he got, right, for just getting in?
Oh, yeah.
The bonus he gets?
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
That's just ridiculous. So, again, I'm still always going to be against North Carolina. Even 2 years ago when they were 18, they made the Final Four. I thought they were overseeded then. You could have made a case for them not making the tournament. So, I don't like North Carolina. I don't like this team. Congrats. I wouldn't be shocked. They're favoring against Ole Miss. I wouldn't be shocked they win that. And Iowa State's banged up. I wouldn't be shocked to Sweet 16, but it won't change my mind.
Wow. You're saying they're not a tournament team? I think last night they proved it, though. You're gonna win a game. I know they played in the ACC. The record wasn't that good, but I think they proved. But if you watch the game, they clearly. I know you watched. Obviously, a lot of people. This was like, but maybe you watched much. Again, you watched much more North Carolina than I did. I didn't even see the Duke game because I was at the Big East tournament. And then being down by 25, that was not good. Being down by 25 in a must-win game without Cooper Flag. They did come back, but they had that lane violation, which cost them the game. But I think last night they proved it, though. You win by 27. Now, if they won the game by like 2 or 3 points, I get it. But they won the game by 27 points. I do think they're a tournament. I do think they proved last night they were a tournament team.
I just don't see it. I just seen too much of this team, and yeah, RJ. They last night they couldn't miss. They really shot the ball well. Like Elliot Cadeau, I think even the 1-3 he took, and he struggled all year shooting the basketball. And last night he was like 4 for 5, hit a 3 in that one. Like it just felt like one of those nights where North Carolina was just kind of hitting all cylinders, and that's kind of all you need, I guess, at this point. But like throughout their body of work all year, I really haven't seen, I guess maybe down the stretch, but against some poor competition, like a Virginia, the Florida States, the Virginia Techs that they've blown out. Like, yeah, they've looked good then, but like those are top 90 or 100 teams, 130 teams. So it's a team that lost Stanford, Wake Forest, even Pittsburgh, who was top 15 in November, December, and then they hit the ACC play, and then they just pretty much quit on the season. But like, I haven't been impressed with them all year. Last time was very impressive, but like 4 months of watching them, not one game is not going to change my opinion. It's just not.
Yeah. I just think they looked really good, and listen. I just think you can't call San Diego State a tournament team and not call North Carolina a tournament team. When North Carolina destroyed San Diego State, and San Diego State was on the bubble too.
Yeah, they were. And they didn't play great down the stretch. Their big guy who came back last night, the hyperextended knee, they weren't great. So I wouldn't have been shocked if they were in and out. They did, one of the few teams that beat San Diego State. I think that Houston win back in November really kind of was maybe the difference maker for them to get in.
To me, that's why the committee should not be counting November wins. Shouldn't be taking November wins seriously.
I think you should. I don't think you should use it as highly as they probably do. Well, I don't know what the committee came up with. Like some of the seating,
really.
It was bad. I thought. Louisville, I saw on that 8 line come out, I knew we were in for something for a treat. And then they get matched in Lexington too. Like you give no more over
against Creighton, who I think's Creighton, who I think in a better conference got to the final. And was the second best team in that conference.
Yeah, this is when I told you last week that they finished this thing on Friday. They did, because how does UConn lose twice to Creighton and they're in front of Creighton and Creighton gets 9? This is
exactly
like how does Michigan get a 5 after win the Big Ten championship?
Yeah.
So but yeah, back to North Carolina. The committee just does some weird things, and I still just 4 months of basketball doesn't. And one game from here for North Carolina, it just does not change my mind. It just won't. I will firmly believe it again if they make a Final Four. I'll still firmly believe this team did not deserve to be in. But hey, this is all I guess still. So what makes the tournament great? All you need is a couple good weeks.
Yeah. I would agree to disagree there. I just think North Carolina with their performance last night, I think they did belong. You don't think they belong because of their body of work, but we'll see what ends up happening in North Carolina in the tournament. But we got to move on to talk about these regions, and we'll start in the West region, the region that UConn is in. Interesting region here, especially with the coaching. You got you got Florida, who I think is playing better than any team right now in the country. So they're the 4th overall seed, but I think they're playing better than any team in the country. And that's another point that they probably finished this thing on Friday and took the weekend off, because Florida had the same amount of losses as Auburn, but they're the 4 and Auburn's the 1. So that's that to me that's a little bit confusing. That's a little bit confusing there. So that proves your point. They finished this thing off on Friday. But yeah, you got Calipari, Bill Self going out in the first round. 3 national titles combined there. You got Pitino. That's 2 national. You got 2 national. Yeah, 7 national champions. Coaches, and neither of those teams are the best team in the region. So you got 7 national titles. Very interesting there. But we got to start with UConn and what their chances are of making a run in this tournament. And when I was watching Selection Sunday, and the first 2 brackets came up, I saw that UConn wouldn't be in Duke's bracket. I was happy about that. I saw that UConn wouldn't be in Auburn's bracket. I was happy about that. I was hoping that they would get into Houston's bracket. I was hoping they'd get into Houston's bracket and not Florida's, because that's a major difference. To me, I think Houston's the worst number 1 seed, but I think Florida is right now playing better than anyone in the country. And of course, UConn got Florida. They got Florida. And I don't see this game. I don't see this team getting to the second round. I think their second round matchup is going to be brutal. And it's a bad matchup too. UConn has trouble defending the 3. Florida could shoot the 3. Florida also has a really good inside game. UConn has a very inconsistent inside game, as you saw in that Friday night against Creighton when you had a good rim protector and Ryan Kalkbrenner. So you saw their post game is inconsistent. And all year long, they have not gotten good point guard play. So UConn's going to have to keep up with Florida. I think it's going to be a brutal game. I do like their matchup in the first round. I think they can beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma doesn't have a lot of size. Fears is a really good player, but shoots 27% from 3-point range. So I do think they win a game. I just don't think they get past the second round. I don't think, and I think what we've been. I think that's been our expectation pretty much the entire season. They'd win one game and lose in the second round. I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to win a tournament game. They're going to beat Oklahoma and lose to Florida. That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's, even though they've won the last 2 national titles, this team is obviously not as good as last year, and they got a really bad matchup playing Florida in the second round, in my opinion.
Yeah, when you have a year like this, you're probably going to get stuck in the 8-9 line like they did. I didn't want to face any of the number ones. I just did. I'm glad it's not Duke, because that does help my mental health, because, I would hate that game. I'd have to hate watching that basketball game. But I think, with this one with Oklahoma first, I do think they match up well, because Oklahoma's not a great rebounding team. They don't have a great inside game. One of the big guys, Sam Godwin, is still day-to-day. I don't know if he's going to play Friday or not. But yeah, you mentioned Jeremy Fears. He's not a great shooter, but he loves, though my one worry in this game is he loves, and actually all their guards, this is for all their guards. All their guards like to get downhill and like to get to the basket. They like to try to get to the line. And as we know, UConn gives up a lot of fouls because they can't guard. So that's my one worry. But Duke Miles, another one, the high point transfer, can get downhill. He could shoot too. He's kind of like an Aiden Mahaney type, kind of get inside and draw fouls. So that's my one worry. The other one too with Oklahoma is they don't force turnovers, which is very good for UConn, because UConn has really had trouble holding on the basketball this year. So I do think this matchup sets up well for UConn. I do think they can get in. I do think, or if they get this win, I think Terrace Reed has a pretty good game inside. Hopefully Aiden Mahaney continues to play well. Looks like he's finally getting some confidence right now. They're going to need him. But yeah, the Florida one, this is going to be a taste of our own medicine from the last couple of years. We're probably going to beating. If I did the math right on KenPom, the way he does it, I think UConn's going to be about 11 or 12-point favorite in Florida. I would probably take the points.
You mean underdog?
Yeah, the underdog.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. 11 or 12 points. Yeah. Wow, that's a lot. Especially for a team. And I know they're not the same team, but for a 2-time defending national champ, that's a lot.
Yeah, I'd probably take the points too. I think, we're going to get a taste of our own medicine. They could lose by 30 against Florida, especially if they're not making their shots. And Florida's got like 3 big guys that they can rotate and all give kind of Terrace and Sampson some issues. So I think I think Florida I think all 4 are bad matches for UConn, but especially what they played this year. So yeah, probably be a taste of their own medicine on Sunday if they can get there. It's probably going to be the lead in to, I think, to 60 minutes.
Oh, really? That's going to be the 5 o'clock game, you think?
That's what I'm thinking, because Duke's playing the afternoon session. So I think that Duke's probably going to be at like 2 o'clock, the second game. UConn's probably going to follow them or whatever.
And Duke's not playing a team because Baylor and Mississippi State are not going to be they're not a huge draw, But you have Florida, who's probably the best team, might be playing better than everyone against the 2-9 defending national champ. I mean, Iron Eagles doing the game, so they got the number 1 team. Yeah, I can see that being the game leading into 60 minutes.
Yeah, so hopefully they keep it somewhat. It's not a total embarrassment, but yeah, it could really be. So could be the spotlight game there on Sunday, and it could be ugly. Think the taste of their own medicine in the last couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with UConn in this tournament. It doesn't look good that they could three-peat, but you never know in the NCAA tournament. But the other big storyline in this region is St. John's. And they won their first Big East title on Saturday in 25 years. Rick Pitino's done a phenomenal job turning this program around. He's done a phenomenal job turning every program around. He did it he did it at BU. He did it at Providence. He did it at Kentucky. He did it at Louisville. He did it at Louisville. And he won a national title at Louisville. And he won a national title at Kentucky. But and it's ironic. He's going back to his old stomping grounds at Providence, for this tournament. So the big question is should St. John's be the favorite to win this region? And I think it's a pretty easy answer. No, I think and I'm not going to give away I've kind of given it away early. I think I might have given it away with Florida, but I think with the potential second round matchup against Kansas or Arkansas, Maryland has 5 starters that they're averaging double figures. Florida's playing as well as anyone. I think St. John's, they were really good in the Big East tournament. Won every game by double digits. I know they started slow, won every game by double digits. But like I've said all year with St. John's, I know they're well coached. They got a good inside game in Ejiofor. Ejiofor had a great game against Marquette, and they're well coached. 3-point, just because of the way their inconsistency shooting 3. Now they've gotten better shooting the 3, especially RJ Lewis. They've gotten better at shooting the 3 as the season has gone on. But their inconsistency from 3-point range. That's why I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. I don't think St. John should be the favorite to win this region, but it's been a heck of a turnaround by Rick Pitino.
Yeah, it has. He's really turned around that place quickly. They've like most of his because Bartovic kind of actually sorts kind of team profiles when you go in there. And a couple of the St. John teams are compared to like his Louisville teams. Like I think his 13 and 14 teams were, which you can see it. They're lengthy. They play really good defense. Like the shooting definitely can come back to hurt them. And I think that's ultimately going to be their downfall at some point is because they're just not making enough shots. But yeah, I think I don't have them I don't have them the favorite in this region either. I seriously think they could lose to a Kansas. I never thought I was going to take a Bill Self this week with this team, but I think they got the length. I think they could bother St. John's with some of their length, and I do think Harris is a pretty steady point guard. But yeah, I just think the downfall of the team is going to be that they just don't hit enough shots, and I think that's going to be the downfall. I could see it in the second round. I could see it in the Sweet 16. Like a Texas Tech could match up with them well. So I don't see this team getting the Final Four.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they get there, though. I would not be shocked at all. Rick Pitino's been to 7 Final Fours. I would not be shocked if they get there. But yeah, I think, and if Texas Tech is healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if they get beat there. Like it was close when I was filling out my bracket. It was close between them and Texas Tech, but I couldn't take Texas Tech because I don't know how healthy. I don't know if McMullen's going to be healthy.
I think it sounds like they're going to be healthy. Sounds like they're going to be.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was Texas Tech either. So and because Chase McMullen didn't play in the Big 12 semi against Arizona. So yeah, I think they're I think they've had a historic season, winning the Big East for the first time in 25 years. And I wouldn't be shocked they got to the Final Four, but I just don't think they're the favorite to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I don't either. I think they get to Sweet 16. I think Texas Tech will ultimately beat them. I wouldn't be shocked if Kansas were. So, yeah, they're a good team. Pitino's done a good job. I know there's probably a lot of pieces that they got to there's a lot of pieces that they're going to be losing this offseason, but they got the money, so they'll probably bring in a pretty good transfer haul here. So, yeah, it's good for the Big East, too, that they're getting going here. But, yeah, I think I think the shot making, it's just going to be the difference maker of St. John's, and that's going to be the ultimate downfall, which I think we've all kind of thought all year. And it's going to be a different – actually, the one thing, too, is with how physical St. John's plays, too, the refereeing in the tournament gets a lot tighter because – for the refs to move on as well, you have to score the best, like the best refs, that score the best. So usually they call the game a lot more tighter too. So with how handsy and physical St. John's is, it's going to be tough to get away with that. So they could lose a game too because the other team just goes to the line 25, 30 times. So that's quite possible as well. I don't think that'll happen in the first round, but Omar's a great story. They like bang, they go WWE style trash can, but be great to see them beat St. John's. But that's another thing too is how the game's officiated too could hurt St. John's.
Yeah, if a physical team that doesn't shoot the ball great, it definitely is a good point. That definitely could be an impact for St. John's. But we'll get a little bit more into the West region, and we'll go to our mid major. We'll do this. We do this every year, but who is the mid major that can make a run in this region? For me, it's Grand Canyon. I like Grand Canyon because they won a tournament game last year. I know they got a really tough matchup with Maryland, but they won a tournament game last year. And outside of the other mid majors, Omaha, I think is going to. I don't like them in this round. UNC Wilmington, I don't really like them. So it was hard to pick one, but I'm gonna go with Grand Canyon because they won a tournament game last year. Who's your mid major that can make a run?
I'm going with Colorado State here. I like
Good
Nikui
pick.
Clifford.
Clifford had a really good Mountain West Conference Championship game.
He did. He's going to make a huge name for himself. I think this upcoming week here, Memphis Tyrese Hunter too might be unavailable in this game. He hurt his foot back on Saturday, Sunday.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So Memphis could be a little banged up. I love the way Colorado State's been playing of late. The Mountain West type thing kind of scares me. They've not been great in tournament of recent, but the Colorado State just playing so well right now. I know Penny, they've done a nice job this year, but I think that King Clifford, I think, could be a difference maker in this game. And Nico Medved's an unbelievable coach. I think he could kind of scheme something up here, and I think they could handle the Memphis Big. So I'm going to take Colorado State here to kind of go on a little bit of a run.
Who is your sleeper team that can make a run in this tournament? I'm going to go with Maryland. They may make a run in this region. I'm going to go with Maryland because, and I'm going to say they're a sleeper because you're talking about the great coaches in Florida. I'm going to go with Maryland because they have 5. I think they're the only team in the country that have 5 guys that average double figures. Queen is a really good player. I know they got beat by Michigan in the conference tournament, but I like Maryland just because when you have 5 guys that average double figures, you can make a run. If you could score in basketball today, you can make a run. That's why I like Maryland. And they've been hot lately. They've been playing really well of late.
Yeah, that's mine too. Here it's Maryland. I wish they weren't stuck in Florida's region because I would have them in the Final Four. I hate that they're stuck in this region.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, the Crab 5. That starting 5 you mentioned. Derek Queen, man. I watched him the first time I saw him was against Nova in November, and he's just an old school big. He's just so dominant down low. And then you got Julian Reese too. That's gonna be tough. For their first couple rounds. I think Florida's going to be able to negate that with their size, but Jacoby Gillespie too's coming and he's been really good at the point. Transfer Belmont, he's done a really nice job this year. So they don't have a ton of bench guys production, but I just think they're too big. Gillespie, the way he's been playing at point, I really like this Maryland team right now. So I think they're the one that could make a run. Wouldn't be shocked to knock off Florida, but I think it'd be too tall of a task.
All righty. So what is your prediction in this region? I mean, my prediction in this region is I got Florida knocking off St. John's in the Elite Eight. What do you got?
Yeah, I got Florida knocking off Texas Tech. I just think Florida's just an absolute wagon right now, and I think they're going to be a tough matchup. And Walton Clayton could go up against Rick Pitino. If you remember, he played at Iona with them.
Yes, I remember. Yeah. Played UConn in the tournament.
Yeah, he had 25. He went off against UConn. I know he had an awesome first half, and he makes a ton of tough shots. Elijah Martin, the Florida Atlantic transfer, he's got some Final Four experience. So I like this Florida team the way they're playing. I could see hanging around the way they play defense. Jeremy Klassen, best offensive team he's had as head coach. So that's another team. Like I'd have Texas Tech too in the Final Four if they weren't stuck in this region. So kind of disappointed by that, but I think they'll give Florida a test. But I think Florida is just too much offensive talent to stop.
Yeah. Just to me, they're playing better than anyone right now in the country. So we both like Florida in this region. Now moving on to the East region, and this big story is Duke. Duke is the big story in this region, and the big storyline is when is Duke going to have to play Cooper Flag? When is it? How many games can they afford to sit Cooper Flag? And this is probably the pretty obvious answer. I think it's just one. I think it's just on Friday against whoever they end up playing in that. Whoever wins, I think American or Mount St. Mary's, whoever wins that, sits the game to tonight with the 2-16 seeds. So I just think it's one game on Friday because I think against Baylor or Mississippi State, because Josh Hubbard is a really good player, sophomore, really good player. BJ Edgecombe is a lottery pick. So I think they can only afford to sit him for one game because if they don't, they're in danger of getting upset by either Mississippi State or Baylor in the second round. If they're in danger of getting upset if Cooper Flag doesn't play.
Yeah, I think he should probably sit Friday. It sounds like there's a chance he's going to play Friday night, which I think could kind of be a mistake.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think it could be a mistake because
Yeah.
they won the ACC tournament. The ACC wasn't good, but they won the ACC tournament without him. And we're up by 25 points on North Carolina without him.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech had him on the ropes there. They played they kind of figured it out there in the second half. But yeah, North Carolina kind of had them there on the ropes and could not, kind of overcome it. But yeah, I just think Cooper should probably sit Friday, come back Sunday. Baylor hasn't. Baylor's kind of banged up. They might get one guy back this week. Mississippi State hasn't played well down the stretch, so they might be able to like afford it. But you mentioned Josh Hubbard. He's an NBA guy. I don't know if he's going to the draft this year. Maybe he needs one more year, but because he's a smaller guard, be kind of tough as a two. In the NBA with his size, but he's an outstanding scorer. So you might be able to get away with sitting Cooper on Sunday as well. But if they can get him back Sunday, I think it would be huge for him. I think Malik Brown too. Their other, I think that's their best all ball defender. He's, I think, done for the year. It's the second time his shoulder popped, so can't imagine he's gonna be back. I think that could be a bigger loss, especially in the defensive end of the floor for him. So, but I think they'll get Cooper back either. Sounds like maybe pot. I think he should probably sit Friday.
Yeah. He definitely should sit Friday. I think it's pretty obvious he should Friday, but they're gonna have to have him back for Sunday. I think they're going to, because they potentially, again, they could potentially get upset if he's not back on Sunday. So I definitely could see him. I definitely could see Cooper Flagg, sitting on Friday, but then needing to be back on Sunday, because I think he needs to be back on Sunday. Because I don't know if they're going to get upset, but there's a chance. There's a good chance they could get upset if he doesn't play on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it could. Scott Drew's a good coach. Defensively, I think Baylor's going to struggle against them. They might struggle with their size too, because Baylor's not very big in the front court. They might struggle with that. Mississippi State, Chris James is a good coach. They're another kind of physical team. They got some size that could maybe give Duke some problems, but I think Mississippi State at times offensively kind of, there's been times where they've kind of struggled to score, but that's kind of the way they play at times. But I think defensively, Mississippi State might be able to hang in there with them, but Josh Hubbard could maybe steal the game himself. Maybe you get an instance like a couple years ago when UCF had him the ropes. Now, it did help that they had a 7'6" guy anchoring down low. But maybe they do get a scare. They could definitely get a scare Sunday night without Cooper Flagg in there. So if he could play Friday, it sounds like if he could play Friday, I think he'll definitely be in there for Sunday.
Yeah. If he plays Friday, he'll definitely be there Sunday. But yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what's ended up happening there. And the other question about Duke is seeing that they got Cooper Flagg and assuming that he's healthy, would it be a disappointment if Duke does not make the Final Four? I would say no, because anything could happen in the tournament. And if they say they lose to a good game to a good Alabama team, I would say no. I would say no. I wouldn't say it's a disappointment, because they won the ACC. I know the ACC was bad, but they won the ACC. They come into the tournament as the top ranked, and not the number one overall seed, but the top ranked team in the country. So I would say no. I still think it was a really good year for Duke, even if they don't make the Final Four.
I think for Duke standards, it would be a disappointment. I really do. Like, this is the best thing that they had since that Zion Williamson team. And, I get it. The way Florida's playing right now, I know Auburn's kind of subbed their toe here the last couple of weeks. You got a couple of lottery picks on this team. Alabama, now Grant Nelson, I know, saw a knee special on Monday. I haven't seen an update. I don't think he's going to play against Robert Morris. Maybe he's back for round 2. I'm not sure yet, but Alabama's a little banged up. Now they've been banged up most of the year. They've kind of missed a couple guys, so that's getting nothing new for them. But I just think with how much talent this Duke team has, you have a guy like Cooper Flagg who, you supposedly will be healthy, will be back. This team can't make a Final Four. I think it'd be a big disappointment, because it's Duke. They're used to it. And I think for Shire, he needs it too to get there. Because again, I still don't think he's that great of a coach. I just don't. And I need this. They win the championship, sure. Maybe I'll change my mind a little bit. But I just, I'm still not there yet. And I think for Shire, he needs it. Again, he's not on the hot seat or anything, but this is a team that he really needs to kind of prove how good of a coach he is and kind of get out of the shadows. And a run here to get to a Final Four, to get a national championship would kind of silence that. So for me, I think it would be a disappointment if this Duke team can't get to the Final Four. And I think it would probably show a lot about Shire, the coach, especially if it's late game execution and he can't draw up a play. We've really only seen him draw up one play at the end of the game. It's a Cooper Flagg isolation, and he does a spin and he tries to get the layup. So I need to see it more. I need to see more of Shire, and I think it'd show if they don't get there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Duke. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But we'll talk a bit more about the East region and the mid-major team that could make a run in this tournament. And I'll start and I'm going to go with Akron. I'm going to go with Akron because 17-1 in the MAC. And they do have. I think they could upset Arizona. Arizona's not a great team. I think they could upset them. So I'm gonna go with Akron as my team, as my mid-major that can make a run. That could make a run in this tournament.
Yeah, I can say they got the shot making. We'll see if they get enough stops. My bet won't work. They try to get in track with Arizona, but I did think about them. I'm going with the 12 seed in this one. I got Liberty. Their size might be an issue because Oregon's big, could cause a problem to them. But Liberty's got some really good shot makers that kind of keep this thing interesting. Oregon's pretty good at defending the three. But I think Liberty's one of the smallest teams out there. They're going to try to grind the game to a hole. So maybe they could kind of keep this game, in the 60s, low 70s. They did beat, they didn't play a Power 4 team this year. They did beat a good McNeese State team this year. I think they beat a couple other decent, or they did beat Kansas State actually by 2. I know Kansas State wasn't great this year, but I do like this Liberty team. They do got some good shot makers here that I think could give Oregon some problems here. So I'm going to go with the Liberty Flames out of the Conference USA.
Going with the Liberty Flames, and who's the sleeper team that could win, that can make a run in this tournament? Who is the sleeper team? And I'm going to go with BYU. I'm going to go with BYU. They've won 9 in a row going into the tournament. Before they lost to Houston in the semifinals of the Big 12 tournament, they won 9 in a row. I think they're really deep. Saunders is a good player. I'm going BYU, who can make a run. And you brought it up, Bama. Wisconsin's good, but they lack size. Bama could be banged up, so. To me, BYU is the team that I think can make a run in this tournament.
I'm actually going to take the team that won the first round, the VCU Rams here.
Wow, you like VCU?
Yeah,
there?
yeah. Ryan Odom might be the next coach at Virginia. Whenever the run's over here, but I really love their guards. Max Shulga, who almost went to Nova. VCU upped his NIL. They were able to keep him. Joe Bezemal, another kind of lengthy guard who can knock down shots. Shoga 2 is I think he's a 42% 3-point shooter. I think those two could really go, make a run. I think this is the best VCU team that we've seen probably since 2014. And I know they got upset in the first round. I believe it was the Stephen F. Austin that year. But I just love VCU's defense. I think they got the shot makers at the guard spots that you always need. My one concern is you're flying to Denver after playing on Sunday. It's a quick turnaround against a BYU team that's a short flight. That's my one kind of concern there. But I think because BYU struggled at times to handle pressure, and VCU's going to put that on you. So I do think they could turn over the BYU guards off enough, and VCU gets enough easy baskets in transition. So I'm going to take VCU here to go on a run because I think they could kind of do the same to Wisconsin as well.
Yeah, that's a good pick there. That's a good pick there with VCU. Now, prediction for this region, and I'm going to go Duke. I'm going to go Duke and Alabama. I know Alabama's banged up, but Marcus Sears, first-team All-American. I think he carries them to the Elite Eight, but I just don't think it's going to be enough against Cooper Flag and Duke. I think Duke is proving with Knuppel, with Flag, they got a good big inside, especially defensively. Proctor has got experience with Proctor, so I'm going Duke here. I'm going Duke to win this region over Alabama.
Yeah, if you were telling me right now Grant Nelson's going to be healthy, I'd probably take Bama because I think Bama has the shot makers. I think they can get in a track meet where Duke can't settle in their defense. But I don't know that right now, so I have Duke over Bama. I do think Duke will probably take advantage of Bama's, especially their interior defense. I don't think Bama's defense is still not great. Duke, so I think Duke, with Cooper Flag back, Molotov inside, I think Duke just has enough right now where I wouldn't be shocked if Bama would beat them because I think Bama plays the style that you need to knock them off. But without a healthy Grant Nelson, I kind of have to put pause on Bama, and I have to take Duke to win this region.
Yeah. So we both got Duke. We both got Duke in the East, and we got Florida in the West. And now we'll move to the South region. And the big story coming out of the South region is Auburn. Even though they didn't win the SEC tournament and lost 3 of their last 4 games, they are still the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. And the question is, should Auburn be the number 1 overall seed? And this goes back to your point about the tournament, the committee not working on the weekend. Not and this is exactly what you mean, because Duke had less losses than them and won their conference. I think Houston had less losses too. I don't know if they had less losses.
They might have had 3 or 4.
They had 3 losses. Won their conference, and Florida had as many losses and won their conference. So I'm going to say no. I don't think they should have been the number 1 overall seed. I think Duke should have leaped them. I think Duke should have been the number 1 overall seed, and Auburn shouldn't have been. I don't think Auburn should have been the number 1 overall seed. They didn't win their conference. I mean, you could argue they could have been, the 3rd or 4th overall seed, seeing the way Florida was playing at the end of the year. So I'm going to say no. I don't think they should have been the number 1 overall seed.
I think Auburn's total body of work is the thing that put them on top, and I do think that's where you give them the edge, because again, they end with 14 quad ones, which I think is like the most all time since they've trained the quadrants. So I think with their overall body of work is the thing that put it above here. Now the thing is too, Duke did beat Auburn. So if we are doing,
if we're doing head to head, Duke beat Auburn. And they beat Auburn. They won the ACC without Cooper Flagg. They didn't need him to win the ACC. They beat Auburn. Duke beat Auburn. So I think it should have been Duke.
Yeah, if you could have said Duke. I think Houston could have been as well. Like, they've only lost once since December. And that was a Texas Tech game. They have 4 losses. I think they had 3, but they actually have 4. I think you could have gone Houston as well. I think you could have made the case for all 4 number 1 overall seeds this year, or all 4 number 1 seeds to be the number 1 overall. You could have made that case. But I just think with the total body of work, I think is why they kept Auburn up there, even though, I think maybe the last week where they clinched it, the SEC, they kind of took their foot off the gas there. But they didn't play well against Tennessee, and even against Ole Miss, they didn't look great either. So, it's a new season now when we get to tournament, but I just think because they just had that many quad 1 wins, and they did go through the SEC pretty much, kind of besides that one loss to Florida before March, they kind of just cut through the whole SEC. Without many problems. So I just think that's why they just kept them there. But going back to they take the weekend off. It wouldn't shy on me if they just kind of left them there too. And hey, if they were looking on Saturday, Sunday, maybe they would have changed them. But we know how the committee works.
Exactly. Now getting into the South region, we'll talk about the mid-major that can make a run in this region. And I'm going to stay local, and I'm going to go with James Jones and the Yale Bulldogs. I'm going to go with the Yale Bulldogs. He's won 2 games in the tournament. I'm picking him to win a 3rd against Texas A&M. I'm going to go with Yale. I think they could score. They were clearly the best team in the Ivy League. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if we see this Yale team, because it's good. We can get Wolf against Yale in the 2nd round. I wouldn't be shocked if we see this Yale team in the Sweet 16, because James Jones is really, really good in the tournament.
Yeah, I had them in. I'll say my other team in a second here, but there's a pat on with Yale. I think they're a really good matchup for an A&M because they force you to take threes. A&M can't shoot the threes. They're good on the glass, and that's what A&M wants to do. They're kind of a juggernaut. They're shouldn't say a juggernaut. They're more like St. John's. Their best offense is just going up and getting offensive rebounds and putbacks. Yale's pretty good, and John P. I can't pronounce his last name. Unbelievable scorer, and he's also a really good defender. I think they're going to throw him on Wade Taylor, I would think. So I think Yale could easily knock off Texas A&M. They beat Auburn last year, so they could do it again. Mine here is UC San Diego. I've been hyping up to see for a couple of months now. 30-win team in their 4th year in Division I. Eric Olin is the next big hot head coach here. UC, they Tate Jones, I can't pronounce his first name. He's from New Zealand. He's probably going to be like that mid-major guy that nobody ever hears. He's averaging like 18 points a game. He's like 6'8". They don't have a ton of size in the front court here, but they're second in the country in forcing turnovers, and Michigan really struggles with protecting the basketball. So I think that could be a bad matchup, and I do think the double bigs that Michigan throw at you, I think they're going to come up with a plan for that. And then also a guy this year, Tyler McGee for UC San Diego. Could be this year's Jack Golke. He struggled in the Big West, but a guy that takes a ton of threes. He could easily have 25 points on Thursday, Friday. I forget when they play, but I could easily see him you see they play Thursday in Denver. So I could see him put up 25. He's an unbelievable shooter. I love this UC San Diego team. First year they're eligible for the NCAA tournament, they won 30 games. It's such an impressive job what they've built there in a very good academic school. Like they've turned kids away because they can't get into the school. So very impressive job. Very, very impressive. I love watching UC San Diego team.
So you'd not be surprised if Michigan gets upset.
No, I would not. I really think we could see UC San Diego Yale in the second round. I really do.
Wow. We'll see about that. Now we'll talk about our sleeper team that could win this region. And for me, it was close between Ole Miss and Michigan, but I'm going to go Ole Miss because I like Ole Miss's path here. I like Ole Miss's path. I mean, North Carolina. I think they do beat North Carolina, even though I think they should be in North. I did think North Carolina should be a tournament team. They proved it to me last night. I do think they beat North Carolina. And then they're playing I think they could upset Iowa State, and I think they could upset Michigan State. I think those they could upset those two teams. So I like Ole Miss. Chris Beard playing a lot of SEC competition. I'm going to go Ole Miss as my sleeper team that can make a run in this tournament. That could win this region. You're
going to get a kick out of my team.
Yeah. Okay.
North Carolina.
Wow. So you say they're not a tournament team, but you think they could actually make a run in this region?
I don't believe they're a tournament team, but I just think the path sets up for them right now. I just think it does. I don't think Ole Miss has the shot makers. I don't like the way they're playing down the stretch here. I think RJ Davis probably could have a pretty good day against these guys. Ellie Cadeau, if he can knock down enough shots for him. Jalen Withers has been playing better. Seth Trimble, was a good shot maker too. I think I didn't like the way Ole Miss is playing. I believe Gilbert's gonna be out for Iowa State, but I don't know when he's coming back, but he should be. But so they'll get one of those guys back. I could see North Carolina knocking off Iowa State because they didn't play well down the stretch. I could easily see North Carolina, beating Michigan State. They're playing next year on Thanksgiving down at Fort Myers. But I could see the North Carolina team easily being the lead eight. I really could. I just think the path sets up for them. We see it every year with these teams that shouldn't be in that make a run. I think North Carolina is going to be that example this year. I just think they are a veteran group and they do have a bunch of guys that have been here before. So I think North Carolina's a team that goes on a run. Even though I've been hating on them and I still will, I just think this is a sleeper pick and I wouldn't be shocked if they're playing next week and still.
Wow. See, so you don't think they're a tournament team, but you think they could win the South region. Crazy.
That's how the tournament works.
That's exactly. You're right about that. You're definitely right about that. Now, your prediction in the South region. I'll go first. I got Auburn I got an SEC, all the SEC. Auburn, Ole Miss. I'm going to go Auburn. I just think they're clearly the best team in this region, even though they've struggled in this region. Bruce Pearl has been to a Final Four before with Auburn. I think he gets back to one. I got Auburn winning this region over Ole Miss.
I'm going to go all chalk, and I really do believe in this team. I got UC San Diego losing to Michigan State in the Elite Eight.
Wow.
UC San Diego to get there.
UC San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, that is and you're going with Tom Izzo in March.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of his, but he's due for one of these runs. He hasn't had a Final Four win in a while. Jace Richardson, too. If he's knocking down shots, he opens up everything for that offense. Cohen Cards, again, you only had 6 points a game, but I think it's just a more athletic Michigan State team than it has been over the last couple of years. Jeremy Fears is, can knock down a couple of shots, but really good assist man. Frankie Fiddler can knock down shots in Omaha transfer, but I don't think this Michigan team is great. But I think the pass sets up for him, and I don't like the way Auburn's been playing. And I also can't do 1-2 everywhere. Like I believe in this UC San Diego team. I don't like the way Auburn's playing. I'm gonna give it a shot. I was right with Florida Atlantic a couple years ago. I'll try UC San Diego this time around.
Yeah, you definitely were right about Florida Atlantic and Dustin last 2 years ago. But yeah, and funny, all their players are key players now. Flag Golden playing for Michigan, Elijah Martin. Florida. You got John L. Davis at Arkansas. So yeah, they're all those. Their players. The players on that Final Four team are all over the place now. Seeing that Dusty May left FAU to go to after he lost to Northwestern in the first round of the tournament last year, they left FAU to go to Michigan. Yeah, all of his players from that final team are all over the place now. But we will wrap up in the Midwest region where Houston is the number 1 seed, and we'll get right into to our sleeper teams and our mid majors that can make a run. And I'll start with my mid major, and it's Will Wade and McNeese State. I like McNeese, and this is my team. I got making a run. I got to have one team make a run every March Madness. McNeese is my team. I got them going Sweet 16. I got them beating Clemson, and I got them upsetting Purdue because Purdue, we know outside of last year, Purdue really struggled. Matt Painter struggles in the tournament. He's got a great player. He got an All-American in Braden Smith, and Kaufman Wren is an All-American too. But really outside of that, he's got no size. So I'm going with McNeese. I'm going with Will Wade and McNeese, and I got them going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I like that one. Will Wade, Clemson. He's a Clemson alum too. He's a student manager there, I believe. So, and he might be a conference rival next year. I think he's gonna get the NC State job. The minute they're probably out here. So we'll be a conference rival very soon. I like that pick. I went with Team Purdue's plan. I went to High Point Panthers. First time in it. High Point can attack the basket, and Purdue has really missed Zach Edey this year. They're 350th this year, and their 2-point field goal defense. They're like bottom 5 in block shots this year, black shot percentage wise. So High Point has a lot of depth here for a mid major here. Pettiford, I don't even remember. He was at Kansas. He was on that 2022 team that won the national championship. He comes off the bench. He had like 17 in their conference championship game. They got some pretty good shooters. Purdue does defend the 3 well. That's my one worry. But Alan Huss, the other Greg McDermott coaching tree he's under, very good. He's another guy that's gonna that's gonna get a bigger job coming up soon. This High Point team's got a couple of different guys that they go to offensively. My one worry is they haven't played I don't think they played one Power 4 team this year, so interested to see how they do, especially defensively. But this offense could keep up, and I think they could outscore Purdue here in a shootout. They could get it there. So I'm going with the High Point Panthers.
You're going with the High Point. You're going with the High Point Panthers. So our sleeper team that could win this region, and this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to go with Gonzaga. It was hard to pick a sleeper because I wasn't going to say Kentucky was a sleeper. I wasn't even going to say Purdue was a sleeper because I don't think they're going to go that far. And then I got Clemson getting upset. I got Illinois getting upset in round 1. And I got UCLA getting upset. So I'm going to go Gonzaga just because Mark Few's had experience. He's done it before. And I like this. They got out of all the 8 seeds, they got the best matchup, I feel like, for a number 1 seed. Because Houston's been a 1 seed a couple of times and has failed to get to the Final Four. I could see Houston getting upset. So I'm gonna go with Gonzaga.
Yeah, I like that. Mark Few, Graham Ike, they got they still got Nemhart. They Battle can make some shots, so I could see it. Usually most years feels like we get 1 seed go down, by like an 8 or 9 seed second round. So I could see Houston being that team this year. I'm going with Utah State. I'm a little worried because the Mountain West, has had the tournament struggles, of course, but Utah State plays a zone. And UCLA guards, if they don't knock down shots, which can happen pretty easily, obviously, they could lose. And Tennessee choose another team in the tournament. It feels like every time they lose, they go 3 for 27 from 3. Utah State could kind of bug them. I do worry about them physically against a team like Tennessee, but especially Tennessee can find a way to get downhill. They could kind of cause some problems against that zone. But I think Utah State's got some size. They got some scoring. Calhoun's done a really nice job there this year. And I think Utah State could kind of find themselves in a run. I just don't trust, the Rick Barnes of the world. And, Utah State, their scoring, Ian Martinez is their top guy. So I could see Utah State here being kind of the sleeper to make a run here with their zone that could kind of throw some teams off.
So you like Utah State, and I like Gonzaga. And so now our pick to win this region, I'm going to go Tennessee. I'm going to go another SEC team. The SEC has been so dominant this year. I'm going to go with Tennessee. I'm going to go with Tennessee over Houston. I think Ziegler's one of the best point guards in the country. I think the year should have been one of the top because he's had a really good year for them. I think Lanier should have been first or second, well, at least third team All-American. I think he shouldn't have been on the they're putting guys like, Kalkbrenner as an All-American, or Dickinson as an All-American. How about we put Chaz Lanier as an All-American, because they lost Dalton Knecht. Now, I'm not saying he has completely replaced Knecht, but he's done a really good job. He's done a really good job this year. So I would have put Lanier there. And again, I think Houston is good. I like Uzan. I like LJ Cryer, but I think they're the worst of the one seeds, and that's why they're the only one seed I don't have making it to the Final Four. So I'm going to go Tennessee to win this region.
Yeah, I've been having a hard time with this one. I do have Houston. I've been on the other side of the bracket. I've been going back and forth to who I got. I'll just go with my sleep. I'm going to go with I'll go with Kentucky. I know they're getting Lamont Butler back. I don't love the pick because they're just very streaky. Their defense is not great, but hey, they get hot for a couple games here. They knocked down enough threes. I think it could go, but I think this is Calvin's. Now, Juwan Roberts, I don't know when he's coming back. I know he got banged up in the Big 12 tournament. I think this Houston is its best offensive team that Calvin's had. I do worry that they still go on that 5-minute drought, but I do think they're a little bit better equipped for that this year than they have in the past. And LJ Cryer, Manuel Sharp, two really good scorers for them that I think they could hang around. I hate to put 3 one season in the Final Four, but I do think we're going to get a pretty chalky March here. So I'm going to go Houston. I do think I do think this could be the year for Calvin Sampson to finally get over the hump.
So you're going Houston.
Yeah, I'm going to go Houston
over Kentucky.
Yeah.
So we have two of the same Final Four teams. We got Duke and we got Florida, and then we differ in the Midwest and the South in the South region. You got Michigan State. You got Michigan State winning that region, and you got Houston, and I got Tennessee. I got Tennessee, and I'm trying to think. I got Tennessee and Auburn. So in our Final Four, I'll do mine first. I got Florida knocking off Auburn in the first. I got Florida knocking off Auburn in the first semifinal. I got Duke knocking off Tennessee in the second semifinal. Justin, who do you got in your national title game? I got Florida and Duke.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Florida as well to get over the hump against Michigan State, and then the other one I'm gonna take Houston and get over Duke. I think the physicality of Houston. I think they could kind of. They don't have a ton of Houston just that defense. I think they could kind of grind it out and get over the hump against Duke. So I'll go. I got Auburn, Houston. That's your game.
So you got Auburn. You got Calvin Sampson against Bruce Pearl, two longtime coaches trying to get their first national title.
I got Ty Golden. I got Florida.
Oh,
Florida.
You got Florida. You got Florida and
Florida, Houston.
Florida, Houston. So you got Calvin Sampson facing Florida, and I have Florida too facing Duke. And I'm going Florida. I think they right now are the best. They got the best player in Duke, getting their best player in the country in Cooper Flagg, facing to me the best team in the country right now in Florida. I think Florida, they do everything well. They got size, they got good guard play, they can shoot threes, they play good defense. They have everything you need to win a national title. Now they're not as dominant as UConn, and I don't think they're as dominant as the two national title teams that won in 06 and 07. But I do think that's their best team since 2007. I think it's even better than the 2014 team that played UConn in the semifinals. So I'm going Florida over Duke, and the reason I got Florida is I just think they're an overall a better team than Duke. But I got Florida over Duke in the final. Justin, who do you got winning, Auburn or Houston?
Yeah, I got Florida winning it. I got Florida over Houston in this one. I meant
Florida or Houston.
Yeah, that's all right. They're both in the SEC.
Exactly. Yep.
Both one seed. So I just think Florida's got way too many options. I just think they've got too many guys that they could go to. I think they got the size as well. That they could kind of rotate inside. Ty Golden runs some pretty good stuff. Remember him at Columbia. I think he was I know the 1 year when Ali was there, Columbia took UConn to overtime, and UConn probably should have lost that game. But Ty Golden, he's running some pretty good stuff here. At Florida, done a nice job there at San Francisco to build that program back up. I think, he's only 38, 39, so he's still really young. And I think, they got a really talented team. Just, Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton are the two guards that kind of get them over the hump here. Florida gets their first title since 07.
I could see it. I got to happen. You got to happen. Yeah, they just seem to be just the consensus favorite right now. They seem to be the consensus favorite. Yeah, Walter Clayton is a first-team All-American, clearly a first-team All-American, and they with Elijah Martin and Ty Golden doing a great job. Yeah, we both have Florida winning. But to wrap up, we got to talk about Indiana and them hiring Darren DeBreeze, the former West Virginia coach, their head coach. And Justin, can DeBreeze get Indiana back on top? I mean, they haven't been on top in the Big Ten in a while. Could he get them back competing with the Michigan States and the Purdue's in the Big Ten?
I think it's possible. I'm a big Darren DeVries guy. He did a really nice job at Drake. Under the Greg McDermott tree, everyone wants to go to the Jay Wrights and the Mike Krzyzewski tree. Greg McDermott's got a really strong tree under. He's going to bring his kid Tucker with him. Who redshirted this year at West Virginia after a shoulder injury. So that's his first piece. It sounds like Indiana is going to have about $7 million in NIL. I was reading here, so they should be able to buy some, get some players in the door pretty quickly. I do think this is the best coaching probably since they had Tom Crean. Like, it's been a while. But I like the stuff that DeVries has run. I thought when they lost, his son Tucker this year, Devon Small, who's a really good guard this year for West Virginia, like he was banged up at times too this year. I thought that West Virginia team was still really, really good. They kind of hung around all year and they beat some pretty good teams. So I do think Indiana had a pretty good hire. And I'm glad too they didn't go the Chris Beard route just because of the past. And I know he's he's an IU guy and he was a student manager there. And I think if it was a year early, they would have got Dusty May, but obviously he's at Michigan now, and I don't think he was going to jump to a different team in the conference. So I think Indiana did a I think it's a pretty strong hire for Indiana. I think they should be able to compete. I think DeVries is going to get them up there back in the Big Ten. I don't know if they're going to get a national championship, but in this NIL world, Indiana's got the money, so it sounds like $7 million they're going to spend. Maybe it's a roster that's good enough to get them over the top.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens in Indiana. Yeah, Darren DeBreeze, 1 year at West Virginia, he had like 6 years at Drake. So we'll see what ends up happening with him. But to wrap up, we'll quickly shift our attention to the NFL and the MLB season started. So we'll get to that after we talk about Higgins and Chase. But on Sunday night, the Bengals signed Higgins and Jamar Chase. Chase, Duke Tobin said he was going to be the highest paid non-quarterback. Became that, making $40.5 million a year. And then T. Higgins, he kind of took a little bit of a discount, only making $29 million a year. You thought he was going to become a free agent and make like over 35, 36 million. So Higgins took a little bit of a discount to stay. The big question, though, is are the Bengals going to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because of the defense, and I don't trust Mike Brown as a GM to fix this defense in the draft. I think they're going to be close. They're going to have a lot of close calls. Maybe get to the divisional round, get to the AFC Championship game. But as you said earlier, as you said a couple months ago, Joe Burrow is turning into the next Dan Marino. Just he's a top quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback, but it feels like he's in the wrong organization. It just feels like he's in the wrong organization to win a championship. Because here's the thing in the AFC: the Chiefs, they're not going anywhere with Mahomes. The Bills, they're not going anywhere with Josh Allen. The Ravens, they're not going anywhere with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think they're going to be able to get over the top here. Like I've said the last couple of weeks, I just see it's too much money you're going to spend on 3 guys here, and it's tough in football to win with just paying 3 guys. And you mentioned I don't trust the GM either to draft, and I know Zach Hill has got to the Super Bowl. He's gotten a little bit better, but I still don't think he's a great head coach that's going to out coach an Andy Reid's of the world or those guys are a Harbaugh or either the Harbaugh brothers. So I don't think this Bengal team is going to be able to get over the hump even with a Joe Burrow quarterback. I just don't trust the organization in the whole to fill in the gaps and with the defense and draft the right guys. And I just don't trust them.
Yeah, this is the problem with an owner, Mike Brown, being the general manager. That's the problem. And we say this a lot of times. The Bengals, not business wise, are not similar to the Cowboys, but with the way they do personnel, the Bengals and Cowboys are very similar. With the head coach being the GM and waiting till the last minute to pay people. They could have paid T. Higgins last year. They could have paid Jamar Chase earlier than that. Bengals and Cowboys are very similar with the way they negotiate contracts because they don't have a judge. The owner is the general manager. It's not terrible, but as we see with the Cowboys, it puts them behind the 8 ball with teams like the Eagles, the Lions, the Commanders, the Packers, the 49ers. It puts the Rams. It puts them behind the 8 ball with teams like that. And I think for the Bengals, it's going to be the same thing. They're always going to be behind the 8 ball organizationally, behind the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills, and now even the Broncos and the Chargers.
Yeah. Yeah, they will. This is why you kind of, as an owner, need to step aside a little bit and let somebody else kind of take charge. But the organization doesn't really like to do that. And yeah, it's a big issue. And yeah, we see it with Dallas Cowboys, and yeah, you're holding on to these guys and waiting the last second. Cowboys about to find out with Mika Parsons what they're gonna have to pay him, especially what Garrett just got.
They're gonna have to pay him $41 million. They're gonna pay him $41 million,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna be able to spread that money around because they're gonna pay him at the last minute.
Yep, and Dak's getting what, 60, 55, like it's I know the Cowboys salary cap's going up, but you still got to build an entire team around. And yeah, the Bengals just aren't going to be able to do that. And yeah, it's kind of the problem with the owner being the GM and just not being able to set aside and wanting to be the guy in the room that makes all the decisions. But yeah, it costs your team as a whole, and they're about to really find out because yeah, that defense next year, I thought it was bad this year, but it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. It shows you the state of your organization when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow and you're not even a Super Bowl contender. Now, I think they can get the last spot in the playoffs. Seeing what's going on with the Steelers and their quarterback situation, I think the Patriots did well in free agency, but I think they could have done better getting a receiver. The Dolphins, Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat, so they could make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised or finish second in the division. But it's not good enough when you're competing with the Chiefs, the Bills, and compete with the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens.
Yeah, it's just not. And yeah, Joe Burrow is an unbelievable quarterback, one of the better ones in the sport. And yeah, like last year, again, they put up, they had to score like 30 points a game to overcome their defense, giving up 28. So yeah, it's going to be tough when you're going up against some of the offenses that he's going to have to face, especially if they get to postseason like Kansas City, like Buffalo, Baltimore. The Chargers are, even Denver's kind of coming up here, and maybe the Patriots figure out an offense, get another receiver. So with Drake May at quarterback. So yeah, it's just such a tough. It's just going to be tough in that division to get over the top if you can't rely on your defense to get any stops. And I just don't think that Bengals defense will be able to do it in a big spot in the month of January if they get there. I don't think there's many people out there that would trust the Bengals to get many stops.
Yeah, I do not either. Yeah, last year they scored, there was like 3 or 4 times they scored 38 points, and they couldn't win the game. They scored 38 against the Ravens, scored 38 against the Steelers, scored 35 against the Commanders. They couldn't win the game because their defense couldn't stop anyone. So yeah, I think if I were them, I know T. Higgins is a great player. I would let him walk and sign Trey Hendrickson to improve on the other side of the ball. But we'll wrap up the show talking about the Dodgers, and they swept the Cubs this week. They won yesterday 4-1, today 6-3. And the big question between the two teams: what is the better chance of happening? The Dodgers repeating as champions, or the Cubs making the playoffs? And spoiler alert for next week's MLB preview, as opening day is next Thursday. I'm going to go with the Cubs because I think the Cubs win their division. And the Dodgers, even though they're completely stacked, no one has repeated as won a back-to-back World Series since the 2000 Yankees. So I'm going to go with the Cubs making the playoffs.
I'm going to let the Dodgers win the World Series here. I do like your Cubs pick because I don't think the NL Central is that strong, but I think the Dodgers, with all the depth they have at starting pitching, even if they get a couple injuries, I still think they're going to be able to overcome that. That lineup's unbelievable. And two, like, if they get to the World Series, there's not an American League team that's beating them. It's just American League's weak.
God, no.
And I think they can get out there. They can get out of the National League, and I think they'll be able to beat whoever they play out coming out of the American League. So I'm going with the Dodgers going back to back. I just think they're just so stacked. The lineup with the pitching and even the bullpen. So I think they'll be able to overcome injuries because they have depth.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think it's the Cubs just because it's so hard to repeat as a World Series champion. But if what will happen is they lose they'll lose a tough series to the Mets or the Phillies or the Braves in the NLCS. If they were playing the World Series, you're right. They're definitely not in the World Series. That is for sure. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin and Afrio, I am Steve Risser. We'll be back next week previewing the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament. And we'll have 2 shows. And we will be having our MLB season previews. We'll have our baseball season previews. So we'll be previewing the Sweet 16 Elite 8 in one show, and the other show will be the MLB season preview. Enjoy March Madness, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.